There's a psychological phenomenon called self-disclosure bias. It's when your brain, flooded with emotional arousal, drops its filters and pushes you to overshare. Scientists say it works like hunger. The more anxious or excited you feel in a conversation, the more your mouth moves before your mind catches up. And what comes out of it, you can never pull back in. A 72-year-old retired engineer in Florida found that out the hard way. Someone at a backyard barbecue asked him one simple question. "So, how's the pension treating you?" He answered, honestly, openly, and within 6 months, 3 friendships he'd held for 30 years quietly disappeared. No argument, no goodbye, just silence where phone calls used to be. He said it best himself. "I didn't lose them because I had money. I lost them because I removed the mystery." Here's the thing. After 60, the most dangerous moments of your life don't happen in a hospital room or on a highway. They happen at a dinner table with your mouth open. Robert Greene wrote in the 48 Laws of Power, "The more you say, the more ordinary you appear, and the less power you hold." Today, I'm walking you through 5 questions you should never answer after 60, 2 bonus habits that silently poison your closest relationships, and 1 core principle underneath it all that might honestly be the most valuable thing you hear this year. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who was born into slavery and became one of the most quoted thinkers in all of history, said it in just 6 words: "Speak only when you must." Let's get into it. Most people don't realize how much damage a single number can do. Never answer questions about your money, your pension, your savings, your property value, your inheritance, none of it. Researchers at Carnegie Mellon, Carbone, and Lowenstein published findings showing that self-disclosure operates like a biological drive. The more emotionally charged a conversation feels, the faster your brain bypasses its own judgment. And once that financial detail is out there, it doesn't just float away, it rewires how people see you entirely. Psychologists call this the halo horn effect. One unexpected piece of information reshapes every other perception someone holds about you. If your pension is bigger than theirs, you become the rich one. If it's smaller, you become the one who didn't plan. Either way, you've just been reduced to a number. And what follows that? Something called schadenfreude, that quiet, almost shameful satisfaction people feel when someone they secretly envy takes a fall. Princeton researchers used fMRI scans and actually found that when people heard about misfortune happening to someone of higher status, the brain's reward centers lit up, real pleasure from someone else's pain. This isn't cruelty, it's human wiring. And the moment you reveal your financial comfort, you unknowingly step into that crosshairs. Let me tell you about Dorothy. She lived in a quiet suburb outside Chicago. After her husband passed, she discovered he'd left behind a life insurance policy larger than she expected. She mentioned it once, just once, at her book club. Within weeks, the comments started. "Must be nice. Some of us actually have to budget." Dorothy wasn't bragging, she was processing grief out loud, but the number stuck, and the warmth in that room never came back. She told a friend, "I traded a secret for loneliness, and I didn't even know I was making the deal." So, what do you say when someone asks? You smile, and you say, "I'm comfortable. Nothing fancy, but I sleep well at night." That's it. No numbers, no comparisons. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Eliminate what isn't essential, and you'll gain both time and tranquility. Your wealth is yours. Your peace is the priority." Here's something counterintuitive. Stop answering questions about your children, especially the good parts. We spend decades raising them, and when they thrive, every instinct says, share it. Your son made partner, your daughter bought her first home, your grandchild got a full scholarship. Those moments are real, they matter. But your joy spoken out loud in the wrong room can quietly become someone else's wound. There was a retired teacher in Ohio who loved talking about her brilliant grandson. Full scholarship, the whole story. She brought it up at a neighborhood lunch. Across the table sat a woman whose own grandson had just dropped out. She never came back to that lunch. The teacher found out months later and said something that stopped me. I thought I was sharing love. I was actually broadcasting distance. Psychologists call this spontaneous trait transference. When you describe your child's success, the listener doesn't just process facts. They subconsciously measure their own life against yours, and that gap doesn't inspire them, it isolates them. AARP data shows that 40% of Americans over 45 report feeling lonely. Robin Dunbar, the Oxford psychologist behind Dunbar's number, found that while we can maintain around 150 casual connections, the people we can truly lean on in a real crisis, 5, maybe fewer. After 60, those 5 are everything. Every careless comment about your family's wins is a small tax on one of those 5 relationships. So when someone asks about your children, keep it light. Everyone's doing their thing. I'm just glad they're healthy. That's warm, that's honest, and it protects the friendship. Your children's success is their story, not your trophy. Never answer questions about your personal struggles, your health fears, your past failures, your regrets. We live in a culture that glorifies vulnerability. Open up, share your truth. And yes, with the right person at the right time, that matters. But Brené Brown, the researcher who made vulnerability mainstream, actually said something most people missed. In Daring Greatly, she called oversharing floodlighting, turning all the lights on at once and blinding the entire room, including yourself. When you share your health scare at dinner, you're not wrong to need comfort, but Psychology Today reported that oversharing leaves both the listener uncomfortable and the speaker full of regret by the next morning. And past mistakes? When you bring them into today's conversation, people don't hear past tense, they hear present character. A retired business owner who mentioned his 2008 bankruptcy at a volunteer group meeting told me, I gave them a label and they never looked past it. So redirect instead. I've had my ups and downs, but I'm focused on what's ahead. Your past is not their inheritance. Stop talking about your health, the daily aches, the procedures, the medication changes. This is different from deep vulnerability. This is the slow drip. After retirement, your biggest weekly event often becomes a doctor's appointment, and slowly, without noticing, your health becomes your only topic. There was a man in Arizona, 74, recovering from surgery, who gave his golf buddies a full medical update every single breakfast. He wasn't complaining, he was processing fear. But after 3 months, one friend quietly told him, Frank, we love you, but every breakfast feels like a hospital visit now. Seneca wrote that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Here's what I'll add. When you speak your suffering at every table, you make others carry it too, and eventually they stop sitting down. What do you say instead? I'm hanging in there, the doctors are on it, but tell me about you. What's been going on? The fastest way to keep a friend after 60 is to make them feel like the most interesting person in the room. Never discuss your future plans openly, especially your will, your inheritance, or who gets what. A retired couple in Jacksonville learned this painfully. The father mentioned at Thanksgiving that the lake house would go to his older son, since he'd helped maintain it for years. Made perfect sense to him, but his younger son heard something completely different. You matter less. They didn't speak for 14 months. The father told a neighbor, I was trying to prevent a fight after I'm gone. Instead, I started one while I'm still here. There's a psychological principle here, the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished business occupies the mind far more powerfully than completed tasks. When you announce inheritance plans, you hand someone an unfinished promise. It lives in their head rent-free, reshaping every family interaction going forward. Handle it privately, put it in writing with a lawyer, and if anyone asks, everything is taken care of. You don't need to worry. Love your children equally at the table. Divide your assets quietly on paper. Those are two entirely different jobs. Now the 2 bonus habits. First, stop giving advice nobody asked for. After 60, you have real wisdom. You've watched things go wrong 100 times. But Psychology Today research is clear. Unsolicited advice isn't experienced as caring, it's experienced as intrusive. It says, I know better than you. And even when you do, especially when you do, saying it uninvited creates distance, not closeness. The most powerful thing you can offer when someone shares a struggle, 9 words. That sounds hard. I'm here if you need me. You keep your wisdom. You keep your friend. Second, never repeat what someone told you in confidence. This is the fastest way to destroy trust after 60 and the most common. Someone shares something real over coffee, and a week later it slips out at a different table. The moment you become someone who carries other people's stories to other people's ears, you become someone no one trusts with anything real. Both sides eventually find out, and you lose both. Here's where it all comes together. What you choose not to say after 60 protects everything you've spent a lifetime building: your friendships, your dignity, your family, your peace. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about choosing deliberately what deserves your words and what deserves your silence. A 91-year-old philosophy professor asked after his final lecture what he wished he'd learned earlier, went quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "The things I didn't say protected me far more than the things I did." You don't owe anyone your numbers. You don't owe anyone your children's achievements. You don't owe anyone the chapters you've already closed. You don't owe anyone your medical updates. And you don't owe anyone a preview of your will. The only debt that truly matters now, the one you owe yourself, is peace. And peace, as Marcus Aurelius wrote nearly 2,000 years ago, comes from letting go of what isn't essential. If this reached you today, share it with someone over 50 who might need to hear it. Someone in your life is out there right now answering one of these questions at a dinner table and slowly losing something they can never get back. Drop a comment. Tell me which of the 5 hit you hardest, or which bonus habit you wish you'd heard 10 years ago. Subscribe and hit the bell so we can keep having conversations like this one. One comment might change someone's tomorrow. Thank you for being here, and remember, today is the youngest day of the rest of your life.